What's going on? Classic Joey Mac here. I wanted to get on today. Today was a very spur of the moment video idea, and the reason that I'm getting on here is because I wanted to talk about a subject that has been on and off in my life in terms of importance for years, and it's a subject that I think rarely gets talked about, and that is the ex-girlfriend. Let me just give some quick history here, though. I've been with my wife for the last 6.5 years. We have a kid. We've been married for almost 4 years. So when I say ex-girlfriend, I'm going back over 6 years ago. The girl that I had dated before my wife, we dated from 2006, February 2006, to I think almost February of 2008. So we're going back a ways. I was 20 through 22 in those years. So we're clearly going back a ways. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, you don't really think about an ex-girlfriend when you've been married for years, happily married, mind you, extremely happy, have a family, have a dog, have the white picket fence around the house, have a great career. I wouldn't trade my life with anyone, and I want to make that extremely clear. So why would I be bringing up a girl that I dated in my very early 20s? What sense does that make? Well, the sense is that she just got engaged herself last night, and I feel like the circle is now complete. Let me be real clear. I think a lot of people don't ever talk about their exes, especially when they're with someone else. And I don't go around talking about my ex-girlfriend, much at all. Only when something would remind me of something or her parents or something, It's not like I'm sitting here, going on and on about an ex-girlfriend from 6 years ago to my wife. I'm pretty sure that that would be a big mistake. However, I have a comfortable enough relationship with my wife where we can talk about each other's past and exes and not feel any problems. I am one of the few people that believe that it's important to always look back on your life. And that includes, and this is where the part where people don't believe this, that includes past relationships. I'm not afraid to really admit at this stage that I think I've had only really 2 significant relationships in my life. The one with the girl that I was dating prior to my wife, and then of course the relationship I'm in today and will be for the rest of my life. Before that, anything that I ever really had would be considered a fling at best. So therefore, that means that the girl that I'm talking about, the girl that was just recently engaged, was truly my first real relationship. The first person that I ever really said, I love you to, and meant it. That was a crazy time for me. Being in my early 20s, she's a couple years younger than me, so she was in her senior year of high school, and I was in my sophomore year of college, I believe. I went to her prom. She came to my college graduation. I was at her high school graduation. We had a lot of good times together. We had some pretty bad times together, emotional highs and lows. And it was your stereotypical and prototypical relationship that I would consider an early college or high school student would have. We were finding out who we were, I think, going as adults. And, maybe I was less mature as well. For somebody that turned 21 during that relationship, I don't really think I ever felt 21. I think it was important that I had that relationship, and I think it was important she had that relationship as well. I think we both did truly love each other. And I don't think I'm afraid to say even now that on some level, I have always wanted her to be happy, even though I couldn't be the one that, granted her that happiness. That relationship shaped who we were in terms of what we wanted from a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And I wouldn't have been able to meet my wife if we didn't end our relationship when it did. I wouldn't have been able to find my wife because I wouldn't know what I was looking for. Because I think after I dated, that girl, that I really knew what I wanted then, all of a sudden. I don't think a lot of people think like that. In fact, I think a lot of people that are watching this probably think I'm crazy to even be sitting here thinking that. Our relationship did not end great. It wasn't bad by any means, but I think it had to end, and I don't think I wanted it to end at that time, but I think it had to end for both of us to move on. And it was important that we moved on from each other. We had to grow. We had to grow as people. We had to move on and experience life more. We couldn't settle down. And I had thought at the time that I was going to spend the rest of my life with her, but I think deep down, even I knew, no, you're not. And because of that decision, we found two people that we're willing to spend the rest of our lives with. I've been married, but now she's going to be married. And I just can't express how happy I am. I really can't express that, because that shows that I truly cared for this person. Maybe it's not like today where I'm in my married relationship. That's such a solid love foundation that I have with my wife. But this girl was somebody that I cared about at one point, very much. And I'm not afraid to say I still care about on some level, because I wanted her to be happy. I'm so glad she's getting married. And I even, sent her a chat last night, congratulating her and even saying how funny life is. And we both, acknowledged it. And I'm glad that we can look back and appreciate, hey, those were good times, and those really were important, and they made us who we are today, or helped make us who we are today. Too many people are willing to throw out old relationships and not realize, God, I learned something. I really learned something about myself and others, and I experienced a lot of great times, some bad that I had to go through as well. And I was too young to realize how important that was. But I was glad that about 6 or 7 months after our relationship ended, we actually, I think, ended up having lunch or dinner, and just caught up just for the hell of it, just kind of smooth things over. I think we both respected and appreciated each other so much that we couldn't have everything just end on a fight or an emotional phone call or anything. And I'm just, we fast forward over 6 years, 6.5 years. I'm married, happy as ever. She's clearly happy as ever, getting engaged. And it's just really crazy how life works out. That a chance meeting between me and this girl led to me eventually finding my wife. I mean, it's funny how that stuff works out. So I'm interested to see what other people have to say on the subject, because I think so quickly we're always willing to you got to get rid of the old and go to the new. You can't dwell on the past. And I agree with that to a point. Relationships are really murky and complicated. It's not like, other things, but sometimes I think we throw away old memories too fast. I'm not afraid to admit I have a couple of pictures that I actually kept of me and this girl, and by no means does that mean that I care less about my wife or my daughter or anyone else. It's just a reminder of a time that was important to me. I don't think either of us would sit here and say, oh yeah, that was, true, everlasting love. It wasn't, clearly, because the relationship didn't last. But that didn't mean that we didn't care for each other. We learned a lot, and we moved forward. And that's important. I mean, that's just as important as anything else that I had gone through, whether it was my first job, learning to, take orders from a boss, and it got me prepared to, get ready for the work world. Or maybe your first party when you're, a teenager or in grade school even, learning, what that type of life is like. your first true love is certainly important. It wouldn't be possible for me to be the person I am today without going through that relationship, and that's why I've always thought about it over the years. Again, it's just the fact of life that when you go through things, they help mold who you were, especially at that age where I needed to go through that relationship. And here I am. I mean, I thought I knew what I wanted back then. That was, how many years ago now? 8 or 9 years ago now. And I didn't. I learned what I wanted. I mean, yeah, for probably about a year I thought I did, but then the second year I think both me and her realized there's more to life. There's a lot of things, and probably her more than me. I think, she was a lot smarter than me on that. And but I realized it, pretty abruptly. And, here I am. No regrets, no nothing, just so happy. I've got a wonderful life. I really do. I have dated, the closest thing I can ever imagine perfection would be in my wife. To me, I have a wonderful daughter, a great dog, a house over my head, a roof over my head, a house to live in. I love my job. I love everything that's happened, now. I have a lot to be thankful for. And I'm always appreciative of the things that got me to where I am. And that relationship, that 2-year window, was extremely important. And I wish her all the best. I hope she is as happy as I am. And I am ecstatic that I have, or had a chance last night to not only congratulate her, but also know that she feels the same way as me in terms of just appreciating the time and knowing how far we've come because of that time. So it helped influence both of our lives. So let me know on Twitter and Tumblr, of course, and any other avenue you want to get in touch with me about what I'm saying. Clearly, this is sort of a fairy tale, what I'm saying here, that happened. I know that a lot of relationships usually end terribly, and then they are just put in the back of your head, never to be thought of again. I'm someone that understands that time and emotion are things that we don't get back. So it's important to look back on those days, even the bad ones, and realize I learned something. I learned a lot about myself, about the world, about relationships. And without those days, I wouldn't be here today. And I can always still look back and smile and laugh on some of the good times during that relationship because they're irreplaceable, regardless of where I'm at today. It may not have worked out the way that we originally thought, but it certainly worked out the way that we would have intended for each other. And that's important. I'm glad that we're both happy. And please, I'd love to hear some stories about some similar things like this. So hit me up, and hope you enjoyed the video and the topic, and see you next time. Classic.